The Baltic lands breathe with a hush that feels eternal, as though time itself pauses when it passes over the meadows, forests, and rivers. Here the soil is dark and fertile, heavy with secrets that have been whispered into it by countless generations. The rivers bend gently, moving like long silver ribbons unraveling across the earth. They reflect the sky as though it were a lover, leaning close, capturing every shade of twilight, every trembling star. Along their banks, wildflowers open like soft mouths, releasing perfumes that drift into the air, mingling with the scent of pine, moss, and rain. It is a place where nature itself seems alive with intention, where nothing is random, where every sound, every flutter, every silence belongs to a rhythm that no human can resist. In this land of woven silence and breath, destiny is not an abstract concept. It is a presence, a touch that grazes the skin when one walks through the woods at night, a weight that lingers in the chest when one looks too long at the horizon. It is felt in the lullabies sung to children, in the trembling voice of a bride, in the sigh of a mother waiting for her son to return from war. Fate is here, everywhere, as real as the soil underfoot and as elusive as mist dissolving into dawn. And at the center of it all is Lima. Lima, whose name drifts like a song half remembered, whose essence is both intimate and untouchable. She is the one who weaves the threads of existence. Every birth, every love, every joy and sorrow belongs to her loom. Her fingers are said to be slender, pale like ivory, strong enough to shape the course of a life, yet soft enough to caress it into tenderness. The people do not fear her as they might fear the storm gods or the spirits of death. No, their reverence is more subtle, a mingling of awe and surrender. For to know Lima is to know that one's path is already chosen, yet wrapped in a cloak of beauty that makes it bearable. She does not shout, nor command, nor strike. Lima rules with silence, with inevitability, with the gentle persistence of water smoothing stone. She is a goddess not of force, but of design, and though her hand is unseen, her presence is undeniable. The flutter in a maiden's chest when she first feels desire is Lima's whisper. The trembling hesitation before lovers' lips meet is her breath. The first tear shed at parting belongs to her thread. She is the pulse behind longing, the architect of joy, the shadow beneath grief. It is said that when Lima weaves, she does so with threads that shimmer like moonlight on water. Each thread belongs to a soul, and though they are fragile, she handles them with reverence. Sometimes she knots them together, binding two lives into union, wrapping them so tightly that they cannot be torn apart. Other times she cuts them or lets them unravel slowly, strands drifting into nothingness like smoke. No one can know why one thread is blessed with joy while another is marked for sorrow, for Lima reveals nothing. Her silence is absolute, and in that silence lies the exquisite cruelty of fate. But she is not heartless. The songs tell of her tenderness, of her hidden compassion, of the way she watches mortals with eyes that carry both distance and longing. Some believe she weeps as she weaves, her tears falling into the threads, softening the pain of those she cannot save. Others say she smiles secretly at the boldness of lovers who defy her, even though she knows defiance is futile. She is not an enemy, nor an ally. She is something greater, something more intimate, the rhythm beneath existence, the quiet breath of inevitability. In the villages, women whisper her name as they prepare for marriage, seeking her favor, hoping their union will be wrapped in joy. Mothers murmur to her when their children cry, asking her threads to remain unbroken. Travelers call upon her when they step into unknown lands, yearning for her hand to guide their steps. And lovers, perhaps most of all, feel her most acutely. For it is in the thrum of passion, in the ache of longing, in the trembling surrender of flesh to flesh, that Lima's threads tighten their hold. Desire itself is her gift, her curse, her inescapable mark upon humanity. The forest knows her well. In the hush between birdsong and the sigh of branches, her presence lingers. The birch trees, with their white skin, are said to be sacred to her, standing as symbols of purity and inevitability. Beneath their leaves, lovers confess their secrets, their voices trembling, their bodies leaning close, hoping that Lima will weave them together. The rivers carry her whispers, soft and sensual, like the murmur of a lover's lips against the ear. Even the stones are said to hold her imprint, silent witnesses to the countless fates she has spun across the ages.
But what makes Lima most intoxicating is her distance. She is not a goddess who can be touched, not one who descends to earth to walk among mortals. She is near, yet unreachable, like a dream that lingers on the skin upon waking, both intimate and impossible to grasp. Her presence is like the warmth left on the sheets after a lover has gone, like the echo of laughter fading into silence. She is always close, yet forever just beyond reach. And in that distance lies her sensuality. To imagine Lima is to imagine inevitability dressed in beauty. She does not strike with thunder or wield fire, but she seduces with the knowledge that one cannot escape her. Every choice made, every step taken, every word spoken belongs to her pattern. Even rebellion, even defiance is part of her weaving. She allows mortals to believe in their freedom, to taste the sweetness of choice, only for them to discover, in the end, that their path has always been hers. There is something devastatingly tender in that, a cruelty that tastes of honey, a captivity wrapped in silk. And so, when her story is told, it is told not with fear, but with longing. She is not a goddess to be appeased, but one to be desired, to be surrendered to. Her myth is not of battles and triumphs, but of whispers and threads, of love and inevitability. She is the ache that lingers in the heart after the kiss, the silence that follows passion, the emptiness left when love is lost. She is all of these things and more. In the quiet of the Baltic night, when the moon hangs low over the forests and the rivers gleam like strands of silver hair, the people know she is there. They cannot see her, but they feel her in the tremor of their bodies, in the pull of their hearts, in the certainty that their lives are not their own. She is Laima, the weaver of destinies, the goddess of love and desire, the soft hand that shapes existence itself. To speak her name is to enter a dream. To surrender to her is to accept that one's heart is no longer free. And yet, there is no terror in this surrender, only a sweetness that lingers, a sensual weight that presses upon the soul, making it heavy with beauty. For Laima does not steal freedom, she replaces it with inevitability. She gives mortals not what they ask for, but what they cannot escape. And somehow that inevitability becomes the most intimate gift of all. And so her story begins, not with thunder, not with fire, but with silence, with whispers, with the softness of inevitability. It begins in the rustle of birch leaves, in the murmur of rivers, in the trembling sighs of lovers who know that their hearts are not their own. It begins in surrender, in longing, in the quiet certainty that everything, joy, desire, grief, love, belongs to her. This is the story of Laima, the weaver of fate, the mistress of desire, the goddess whose threads bind all souls to their destiny. To step into her myth is to step into a dream from which there is no waking. To hear her story is to feel the brush of her hand against the skin, delicate yet absolute, irresistible as the flow of time itself. And to know her is to surrender completely to the intoxicating truth that fate, love, and desire are all one and the same.
Laima, when she is spoken of, is always described with an air of serenity, as though she carries within her a silence deeper than any mortal could endure. She is beautiful, but not in the way mortals understand beauty. Her radiance does not come from the curve of her lips or the softness of her skin, though songs often imagine her with both. Her beauty is of another order. It is the beauty of inevitability itself. It is the beauty of a river flowing endlessly toward the sea, of a dawn that must arrive no matter how long the night clings to the sky. To look upon her, if one ever could, would not be to admire, but to surrender. She is desire cloaked in stillness, power hidden in gentleness, inevitability made flesh. The poets of the Baltic lands call her the weaver, for she is always pictured at her loom. She sits with her hair like a dark waterfall spilling down her back, her hands poised with threads of light and shadow. Some threads shine like morning, golden and radiant, while others shimmer like midnight, cool and glimmering with stars. The loom itself is vast and infinite, though no mortal eye can see its end. Each thread is a life, delicate yet unbreakable in her hands. She touches them with infinite care, her movements fluid, her gestures sensual, as though each thread were a lover's body she knows intimately. She binds, she knots, she loosens, she lets unravel. In silence, impatience,
in serenity, she governs. Yet she is more than a distant goddess of weaving. In her silence is also longing. There are stories whispered that Lima herself desires, though she must never yield to that desire. Her gift and her curse are the same, to feel the burning ache of love, yet to remain untouched, for her role is not to live, but to guide. She belongs not to herself, but to fate, and fate cannot indulge. Still, in her stillness, mortals sense her tenderness, the softness of a heart concealed beneath her serenity. And in the village closest to the birch grove sacred to her, there are lovers who feel her presence most. They are young, as lovers often are when their yearning first blooms. Their names change with the telling, sometimes a maiden and a soldier, sometimes a farmer's daughter and a wandering stranger, sometimes even two brides who find their souls reflected in one another. The names are not what matters. What matters is the ache, the hunger, the undeniable pull of hearts that long to be joined, even as fate whispers of separation.
On the edge of the forest, beneath the pale shimmer of birch bark, they meet. Their hands tremble when they touch, their lips linger when they kiss, as though time itself halts in reverence to their desire. They are mortal, fragile, fleeting, yet within them burns a fire so vivid that even Lima pauses in her weaving to watch. They do not know she is near, yet they feel her. In the quickening of their pulses, in the hush that falls around them, in the way the river stills its song when they embrace, Lima's thread tightens around them. The young man, strong, broad-shouldered, but with eyes soft as autumn rain, is restless. He dreams of distant lands, of roads leading beyond the horizon. He longs for freedom, for choice, for the thrill of shaping his own path. Yet each time he looks at the woman beside him, his restlessness is silenced. Her presence is the only home he has ever needed. Still, he fears the thread of destiny. He fears what he cannot control. And in the secret chambers of his heart, he wonders whether even love is strong enough to defy Lima's weaving. The young woman, delicate yet fierce, her hair dark as raven's wings, her laughter like the rush of river water, carries within her a quiet certainty. She believes in destiny, believes in Lima, believes that their love is not an accident, but a gift woven long before they were born. She clings to this belief as though it were a lifeline, for she knows the fragility of joy. Yet even in her faith there is trembling. She feels the shadow of fate lurking at the edges of their happiness, whispering that what is bound can also be undone. Together, they are contrasts woven into a single thread. He embodies the mortal desire for freedom, for choice, for escape. She embodies surrender, the acceptance of destiny's embrace. Their love is both a defiance and a devotion, both a prayer and a rebellion. And Lima, serene above them, feels the pull of both. To watch them is to feel the essence of mortality itself, that fierce hunger to grasp happiness even when it is fleeting, that desperate need to love even when love may be lost. They do not know how their story will end. They only know the present, the press of lips, the warmth of skin,
the trembling promise of forever whispered into the night. And it is this blindness, this sweet ignorance of what is to come, that makes them beautiful.
Laima, in her quiet, sees herself reflected in them. She is the goddess of inevitability, yet she is also the woman who has never tasted what they taste. She weaves threads of passion without ever knowing its touch. She ties knots of longing without ever surrendering to it herself. She creates union and separation endlessly, yet stands forever alone. And so when she lingers over these two, when her fingers hesitate on their shimmering threads, it is because in them she feels the echo of a desire she must never claim. The contrast is stark. She is divine, eternal, bound to duty. They are mortal, fragile, bound to each other. She exists in stillness, they in the restless fire of flesh and yearning. She is inevitability, they are rebellion. Yet somehow, in their fragile defiance, she finds herself aching with them. The villagers tell their children that Laima's eyes are like pools of still water, reflecting the lives she touches. They say that when she looks at mortals, she sees not just their faces, but the entirety of their journey, their laughter, their cries, their first embrace, their last breath. Yet in this pair of lovers, she sees more. She sees a mirror. She sees her own desire for closeness, her own longing for something beyond duty. She sees what she can never have. And in this reflection, her serenity trembles. But the lovers do not know this. To them, she is only a whisper in the birch leaves, only a shiver down their spines when their bodies press close. They think their story belongs to them. They think their choices are theirs alone. And though Laima watches with tenderness, she knows what they cannot. Their lives are threads already woven. Their passion, their joy, their sorrow, all already shaped by her loom. And so the stage is set. On one side stands Laima, serene and beautiful, the eternal weaver of destinies. On the other, two mortals whose love is fierce, fragile, and doomed to be tested by the inevitability of fate. Between them lies the contrast that defines all myths: divine power against mortal longing, destiny against freedom, restraint against desire. The audience feels it already. The intimacy of Laima's gaze upon the lovers, the fragility of their kisses beneath the birch trees, the trembling beauty of a thread stretched taut between compassion and inevitability. The story is not only about them. It is about all who have ever loved, all who have ever longed, all who have ever believed that passion could alter destiny. And so Laima's myth deepens, her silence heavy with secrets, her loom shimmering with the weight of threads bound for union, for loss, for surrender. The goddess waits, the mortals cling to one another, and the air grows heavy with inevitability.
The birch trees shiver in the night wind, their pale bark gleaming like fragile skin beneath the moonlight. The lovers stand beneath them, their hands intertwined, their lips brushing in the silence, as though the forest itself has hushed to witness their devotion. Their breaths mingle in the cold air, trembling with heat, with longing, with the urgency of those who know that time is never as endless as it feels in a moment of passion. And though they cannot name it, they feel it, the shadow of destiny hovering above them, unseen yet undeniable, like a storm waiting at the edge of the horizon. Lima sits at her loom, far beyond the mortal eye, her fingers sliding over the threads that shimmer with life. The thread of the young man glows faintly golden, vibrant with restless strength, with choices unmade and desires unspoken. The thread of the young woman shines darker, rich as wine, heavy with devotion and surrender. Between them stretches a binding knot, luminous and trembling, woven by Lima herself in tenderness she had not meant to feel. She watches the lovers with eyes that reveal nothing, yet inside her silence burns an ache she dares not name. For though she weaves with impartiality, she cannot deny the pull of their longing. The man is the first to speak into the night, his voice low, raw with unease. "I fear, my love," he whispers, his hand tightening around hers. "I fear that we are not free. I feel a thread around me, pulling me forward, binding me to a path I cannot change. And though my heart belongs to you, what if fate pulls me away?" The woman leans close, her lips brushing his ear, her breath warm against his skin. "We are already bound," she answers softly. "I feel it too, but I do not fear it. To me, the thread is not a chain. It is a promise. Lima herself has tied us together, and I trust her weaving. Whatever comes, we will face it as one." Her certainty should soothe him, but it does not. For within him stirs the mortal hunger for freedom, the desperate need to believe that his choices are his own. He aches to believe that he can shape his own life, yet each kiss, each trembling caress reminds him that even this passion is not his to command. It is hers, Lima's, inevitable, inescapable. And in that truth, his yearning grows sharper, edged with both desire and despair.
Lima watches, her hands hovering above their threads, her heart clenched in a silence that feels unbearable. She is supposed to be impartial, serene, untouched by longing. Yet as she watches their bodies lean together, as she feels their yearning radiate through the threads in her loom, she knows she is no longer untouched. Their love calls to her, a forbidden sweetness, a temptation as intoxicating as it is impossible. She longs, not to touch, not to claim, but simply to know what it is they feel. She longs to know the fire of mortal love, the abandon of desire, the surrender of flesh to flesh. And it is in that longing that her serenity trembles, her weaving falters. The lovers, blind to the goddess's struggle, press closer beneath the birch trees. His lips find her neck, his hands trace her skin as though memorizing it. She shivers, her breath breaking, her body trembling not with fear, but with surrender. In their closeness there is both passion and desperation, for even as they embrace, they feel the shadow of destiny pressing against them. Each kiss feels stolen, each caress fragile, as though fate might tear it away at any moment. Their desire burns brighter because it is fleeting. Their passion deepens because it is doomed. and Lima feels every tremor of their bodies as if it were her own. The threads in her loom quiver beneath her touch, glowing with heat, shimmering with fire. She wants to protect them, to weave their joy into eternity, to knot them together so tightly that no sorrow could undo them. But she cannot, for destiny is not hers to indulge, but to balance. Joy cannot exist without grief. Union cannot be without loss. She knows this, yet she still hesitates. Still she lingers. Still she lets her fingers rest upon their glowing threads, as though stalling the moment when she must decide their fate. The man pulls back slightly, his eyes searching the woman's face. "Do you not fear her?" he asks, his voice thick with both reverence and bitterness. "Lima, she sees us now. I can feel it. She holds our lives in her loom. What if she decides to part us? What if all this, everything we feel, is only her design?" The woman presses her lips against his, silencing him with the sweetness of her surrender. When she pulls away, her voice is calm, though her eyes shimmer with unshed tears. "If it is her design, then I will cherish every moment of it. Even if it ends in sorrow, even if it ends in loss, I would rather live in her weaving than struggle against her hand. Love is never ours alone. It always belongs to fate."
Her faith cuts him more deeply than any blade could, for he cannot surrender so easily. He clings to her, his arms tightening, as though by strength alone he could defy the goddess. His longing sharpens into desperation, his kisses into pleas, his caresses into confessions. He is not ready to be bound, yet he cannot let go, and so he loves her with a fire that feels both holy and doomed, both a prayer and a rebellion. Lima closes her eyes. In her silence, she feels their yearning like fire in her chest, scorching her serenity, unraveling her distance. She wants to remain impartial, but she cannot. She aches with them, suffers with them, desires with them. For the first time in eternity, she feels as though she is not outside the threads, but within them. And in that forbidden intimacy, her power trembles. The forest seems to shift around the lovers, the birch leaves whispering louder, the river swelling as though echoing their passion. Every kiss feels like a defiance, every touch like a prayer to Lima herself. They do not see the goddess, but they feel her, pressing against them like a presence in the dark, heavy with inevitability. And though they are mortal, they sense the truth. Their love is both a gift and a curse, both a blessing and a sentence. Suspense coils around them, tightening like the threads in Lima's loom. Each choice they make, each word they speak, each caress they share feels as though it could change everything, though they know deep inside that nothing can change what Lima has already woven. The cruel beauty of fate is that it allows mortals to believe in freedom, even as it binds them in silk they cannot escape. And so the lovers cling to each other more fiercely, as though passion itself could become a weapon against destiny. Lima's hands hover, trembling, her breath unsteady. She knows what must come. The weaving cannot pause forever. Yet in this moment of conflict, in this dance between desire and inevitability, she lets herself linger. She allows their yearning to grow, to bloom, to ache. She allows herself to feel what she has denied for eternity: compassion, temptation,
the forbidden sweetness of wanting. And in the hush of the Baltic night, beneath the silver birch trees and the whispering river, fate trembles, not because it is weak, but because even destiny cannot remain untouched by love.
The night thickens like velvet, draping itself over the forest, heavy with silence and longing. The birch trees gleam pale in the moonlight, their trunks shimmering like bodies touched by unseen hands. The river hums low, its voice softened, as though it too holds its breath, unwilling to break the spell that binds the lovers together. Every detail of the world seems sharpened, the taste of the cool air, the warmth of skin pressed against skin, the tremor of hearts beating faster than the rhythm of time itself. The lovers stand within this sacred hush, their bodies close, their eyes wide with a hunger too vast for words. They kiss as though each breath might be their last, their lips lingering, parting, returning, desperate to consume and to be consumed. Their hands wander, trembling, not from fear, but from the intensity of desire restrained too long. Each touch is both a plea and a surrender, a confession and a rebellion. The forest itself seems to lean closer, bearing witness to their passion, shivering in anticipation of what must follow. Lima watches, her fingers poised upon their glowing threads. She feels the heat of their desire like fire upon her skin, though no flame touches her. Her loom shimmers, vibrating with the force of their passion, every tremor of their bodies sending ripples through the strands she holds. She should be calm, detached, impartial. She should weave as she always has, in silence, untouched by mortal longing. And yet she cannot. Her hands shake, her breath stirs. She feels as though she is no longer the weaver, but the woven, caught in their intimacy, entangled in their fire. The man pulls her closer, his arms circling her waist, his lips trailing along her jaw, her neck, her shoulder. His voice is hoarse with desperation. I want you, not tomorrow, not in some imagined forever, but now. If fate will not grant us eternity, then let us burn in this moment until nothing remains. The woman's answer is a sigh that is half sob, half moan. Her fingers threading through his hair, clutching him as though he were the only truth she had ever known. Then let us burn, she whispers, her words breaking against his skin. Even if she tears us apart, even if sorrow waits beyond this night, I will give myself to you, all of me, every breath, every heartbeat, every trembling part of me. Their lips find one another again, but this time it is no longer gentle. It is urgent, hungry, raw. They kiss with the ferocity of drowning souls clinging to air, with the despair of those who know they cannot escape what waits, yet choose to surrender to the sweetness of now. Their bodies press together, every line, every curve, every trembling inch alive with heat. Desire has become destiny itself, and in that collision, the boundaries between passion and inevitability blur into nothing. Lima's eyes close, her silence breaking into a shudder she cannot contain. She feels them in her very being, as though their lips touched hers, as though their bodies pressed against her own. She is goddess, eternal and untouchable, yet in this moment, she is undone. Her hands tremble on the loom, and for the first time in eternity, she fears her own weaving. She does not want to part them. She does not want to cut their thread. She wants to let them burn forever, to knot them so tightly that no sorrow, no death, no destiny could undo them. But she knows she cannot. To give them endless joy would unravel the balance she has sworn to maintain. To indulge her compassion would destroy the very fabric she guards. Still, her hesitation lingers. Still, her silence deepens. Still, her heart aches as she watches their mouths part and return, as she hears their gasps in the night, as she feels the trembling of their limbs in the dark. Their passion overwhelms her weaving, filling her loom with a radiance that blinds her. The man lowers her gently into the grass beneath the birch trees, his lips never leaving hers, his hands caressing as though worshipping every inch of her body. The woman arches beneath his touch, her breath ragged, her whispers trembling with devotion. If this is all we are given, then let us belong to one another fully. Let there be no part of me that is not yours. And he answers, his voice breaking, his words soaked in longing. You are already mine as I am yours, not because Lima has woven it so, but because our hearts demand it. If fate claims us tomorrow, tonight belongs only to us.
Lima trembles, her threads glowing so brightly they burn against her fingers. She has never felt so powerless, never felt so consumed. She is the goddess of inevitability, yet she feels herself unraveling, as though their passion is rewriting her very essence. She wants to look away, to still her heart, but she cannot. She is bound as tightly as they are, caught in the intensity of what she should never feel. The lovers kiss again, lips bruising, breaths colliding, bodies trembling with the urgency of surrender. Each caress is a vow, each gasp a confession, each trembling moment a plea to eternity. They are not only defying fate, they are embracing it, knowing that this moment may be the only one, and that makes it infinite. Their desire overwhelms the night, their intimacy turning the forest into a sanctuary of longing. And through it all, Lima's loom quivers, her threads blazing, her silence broken by the ache of longing that has no outlet. She is a goddess, yet she envies mortals. She envies the heat of their skin, the fire of their kisses, the trembling surrender of bodies entwined. She envies their fleetingness, for in its fragility lies a sweetness she can never taste, and in this envy is born a secret compassion, a tenderness that nearly undoes her. She wants to grant them more, to give them eternity, to weave their passion into something unending, yet she knows she cannot. For to be Lima is to balance, to preserve, to ensure that joy and sorrow remain forever entwined. Still she lingers, still she hesitates, still she allows them their fire, their surrender, their intimacy beneath the birch trees. She does not tear them apart, not yet. She lets their passion bloom to its fullest,
lets them taste the entirety of love in a single night, lets them believe, if only for a moment, that desire itself can overcome destiny. The night grows heavier, sweeter, more unbearable. The lovers move as though their bodies are instruments of prayer, each sigh a hymn, each touch a devotion. They worship not only each other, but the very essence of existence, fragile, fleeting, beautiful. Their love becomes an offering, a rebellion, a surrender. And though Lima knows it cannot last, she lets it shine, radiant and impossible, a flame against the endless dark. When the final kiss lingers, when the final gasp softens into silence, when their bodies lie tangled beneath the moonlight, Lima lowers her head. Her tears fall into the loom, vanishing into the glowing threads. No mortal will know that the goddess wept for them, that she envied them, that she loved them in her own unreachable way. They will only know the sweetness of their passion, the beauty of their surrender, the ache of what awaits. For though the night gave them everything, dawn will demand its due. Fate waits patiently, and Lima, though trembling, must weave once more.
The forest slowly yields to the touch of dawn. The stars retreat, fading like embers of a fire merely spent, while the horizon blushes with the pale gold of the rising sun. A mist drifts low across the meadows, clinging to the riverbanks as though reluctant to let go of the night. The air is cool, fragrant with dew, heavy with the memory of whispers, sighs, and gasps that had filled the darkness only hours before. The lovers lie entwined beneath the birch trees, their breaths slow, their limbs tangled, their bodies still trembling from the ecstasy of their surrender. They had given themselves fully, with no fear of tomorrow, as though the night were eternity itself. In their faces remains a serenity rare in mortals, the peace of those who loved without restraint, who tasted the sweetness of defiance and the fire of passion without apology. Lima watches them in silence. Her loom shimmers before her, glowing threads trembling between her fingers. All night she had hesitated, her hand faltering as their passion defied her impartiality. She had let them burn, let them believe they could outshine fate. But now, with the dawn, she must decide. She cannot delay any longer, for the world demands balance, and balance must be restored. Her gaze lingers upon them. The man's hand rests protectively upon the woman's hip, his face softened in sleep, lips parted as though he still murmurs her name in dreams. The woman clings to him even in slumber, her brow against his chest, her fingers tangled in his hair as if she fears he might vanish with the light. They are beautiful, fragile, unbearably mortal. Lima feels a heaviness in her chest, an ache that no goddess should carry, yet she cannot deny it. Their passion had touched her in a way nothing else ever had. It had undone her serenity, revealed a tenderness she had long denied. And yet her duty remains. Fate must be woven,
and destiny cannot be abandoned to longing alone.
Her fingers move, delicate yet unyielding, across the shining threads. The loom hums with a low, sorrowful sound, as if it too grieves the choice it must bear. She weaves their threads together, knotting them in a pattern that sings with both love and loss. She grants them union, but not endlessness. She allows their souls to remain bound, but in ways mortals cannot comprehend. She gives them joy, but tempers it with sorrow, so that balance may remain. The woman stirs first, her eyes fluttering open as the pale light brushes her cheek. She looks upon her lover, still asleep, and a smile blooms across her lips, tender, fragile, luminous. She touches his face softly, tracing his jaw, pressing a kiss upon his brow, as though sealing him into her very being. For a moment, she believes the night's defiance has succeeded. For a moment, she believes they are free. But then, the air shifts. The river sings in a different tone. The forest breathes heavier, and something within her heart tightens, as if unseen hands have pulled a thread too taut. She feels it, the shadow of inevitability, the soft sorrow of destiny. She knows then that their love will not escape the weaving of Lema. Their passion was a gift, yes, but not a liberation. The goddess had let them burn, but she had not unmade the loom. The man wakes, his eyes meeting hers with the warmth of one who still tastes the sweetness of dreams. He pulls her close, kissing her lips, her neck, her shoulders, whispering promises that tremble with sincerity. But she feels the weight of dawn pressing down. She cannot stop her tears, though she smiles through them. "We are hers," she whispers, her voice breaking. "No matter how we burn, no matter how we defy, we are hers." He silences her with a kiss, fierce and trembling, his hand upon her cheek. He then let her take what she must, he murmurs, his words hoarse with both defiance and despair. "She cannot unmake what we are. She cannot cut the fire from my soul, nor the devotion from my heart. Even if she parts us, I will belong to you still." Lema hears their voices. She feels the strength of their devotion, the persistence of their yearning, and in silence she aches. She longs to whisper to them, to tell them that their love will not be wasted, that it will echo through the ages, carried in the threads of others who will love, who will long, who will burn as they burned. But she cannot speak. She must remain serene, impartial, distant. She is the goddess of fate, not its defier. Her weaving concludes. She ties the final knot with trembling fingers, and the loom grows quiet. Their destiny is sealed. The lovers rise together, walking hand in hand from the birch grove into the mist of morning. For now they remain united, and their love is whole. Yet an unseen shadow follows, the knowledge that sorrow waits. The woman feels it in the weight of her steps. The man feels it in the heaviness of his breath. They do not speak of it, for to speak would be to surrender too soon. Instead, they cling to the warmth of each other, cherishing what they still hold. Behind them, the forest sighs. The birches tremble, their pale bark shimmering like skin kissed by moonlight. The river carries away the echoes of their passion, weaving it into the current of time. Lima lingers unseen, her presence soft but undeniable, like silk against the skin. She remains serene, her face calm, but her heart heavy with a longing she cannot confess. She had given them a night. She had given them love. She had even given them the promise that their souls would not drift apart completely. But she had also bound them to sorrow, to loss, to the balance that all mortals must bear. This is her gift and her curse, to weave joy and grief together so that one may give meaning to the other, to grant sweetness that aches because it is fleeting, to create love that shines brighter because it will one day fade. She is not cruel, though she is unyielding. She is not merciless, though she is impartial. She is Lima, and she weaves as she must. The lovers step into the light of dawn, their hands still bound, their hearts still burning. They do not yet know the shape of the sorrow that awaits. They do not yet know how their story will end. But they know this: they have loved, they have burned, and they have defied. And though Lima's weaving holds them, their fire has touched even the goddess herself. Balance is restored, destiny is fulfilled, yet under her serene gaze, Lima carries an ache, the silent compassion of one who yearns but can never surrender, who loves but can never be loved, who watches but can never touch. She has given them what they were meant to have, yet she will always remember their fire, their kisses, their whispers beneath the birches. And so the world continues, the threads woven, the balance maintained. But the memory of that night, that passion, that rebellion glows still in the loom of fate, a reminder that even destiny trembles before desire. The story lingers in the hush of the Baltic forests, in the trembling of birches under the touch of the first light. Night has passed, leaving its memory on the river, the grass, and the hearts of those who loved beneath it. What is love if not a thread, delicate, luminous, impossible to hold, yet impossible to forget, woven through the hands of a goddess? And what are we if not mortals caught in its path, aching, yearning, burning, aware of the inevitability that shapes every heartbeat? The lovers who lie beneath the birches are no longer merely themselves. They are every pulse that quickened in secret desire, every trembling kiss stolen in the dark, every caress given with both surrender and defiance. They are the embodiment of longing made flesh, desire pressed into skin and breath and whispered promises. Their passion, though fleeting, is eternal in its echo. It reverberates in rivers, in winds, in shadows between the trees, carried through time in the quiet trembling of all who love and fear the loss of what they cannot hold. Lima watches. She is unseen, her presence a soft inevitability pressing against the pulse of existence. Her eyes do not close in envy, her hands do not falter in longing, and yet she feels the tremors of mortal passion as if they were her own. She is beauty and balance intertwined, joy and sorrow, desire and restraint, union and separation. She grants nothing without purpose,
yet she sees everything. And in the quiet of her impartiality, there is a tenderness no mortal could touch, a recognition of fire, a reverence for longing, a compassion for the ache of hearts she has bound. The lovers walk into the pale light of dawn, their fingers still entwined, hearts still echoing with the fire of the night. Their love, though held by threads of destiny, is vivid and unyielding. Every glance, every breath, every step is a testament to the intensity of desire pressed against inevitability. They do not speak of fate, for words might shatter the delicate spell woven between them. Instead, they cling to the warmth of each other, savoring the ephemeral sweetness of presence before the weight of destiny presses again.
Yet the shadow of Lima's weaving follows. It is neither cruel nor forgiving. It is simply the truth of existence. The joy they feel is bright because it is fragile. The intimacy they share is exquisite because it is finite. Every touch carries the knowledge that the threads of fate cannot be undone, that passion cannot escape mortality, that love itself is luminous because it will not last forever. And in this knowledge, desire burns hotter, longing sharpens, and every heartbeat matters more than eternity itself. Lima's hands hover above her loom. Her threads glow faintly, alive with the fire of what has been and what must be. She is both witness and keeper, her impartiality intact, yet her awareness of the mortal ache is profound. She cannot intervene to grant permanence. She cannot unmake the pattern she has set. Yet she lingers in the tremor of their passion, in the quiet resonance of sighs and whispered names, in the intimacy that is now preserved in the delicate weave of destiny. Love cannot escape fate, and yet it does not diminish in its presence. The two are intertwined, inseparable, each giving meaning to the other. Without destiny, desire would drift untethered, fragile and empty. Without love, fate would be sterile, a series of unfeeling threads. Together, they form the only truth that mortals can know. To burn with longing while knowing the flames will fade is to live fully, to surrender with courage, to love with an intensity that defies even the coldest inevitability. The lovers have left the birch grove, stepping lightly into the mist of morning. Their union is whole, yet tinged with subtle melancholy. They sense the weight of threads they cannot see, the quiet guidance of a force that shapes without touching. And still they burn. Still they carry desire within them, a fire that will echo in memory, in shadowed glances, in the tremor of hands that once held so tightly. Even in surrender, even in the acceptance of destiny, they are incandescent, their love made sharper and more sacred by the constraints of fate. Lima remains serene. Her face betrays no anguish, her hands steady, her loom quiet at last. But within her is a hidden ache, subtle and enduring, the silent recognition of the sweetness of mortal longing she cannot share. She has woven joy and sorrow together, union and separation, desire and inevitability. Her impartiality remains, yet her empathy resonates with every thread she touches. She has granted them a night of passion, a taste of ecstasy, a closeness that will linger in memory even as destiny presses forward. And in this balance lies her art, her power, and her secret intimacy with what she cannot possess. The forest exhales, the river carries whispers of their love downstream, weaving the memory of night into currents and reeds, into the trembling of leaves. Every detail, a sigh, a gasp, a shiver beneath the moon, is preserved in the silent loom of fate. The world itself bears witness to their union, to the tension of passion against inevitability, to the ephemeral beauty that makes life sacred. And in every sigh of wind, in every brush of sunlight, in every quiet tremor of the earth, the echo of their love endures. This is the lesson of Laima. Love is neither rebellion nor submission alone. It is both. Desire is both ephemeral and eternal. Mortals may tremble, may falter, may fear the end, and yet every moment they cling to the sweetness of passion is sanctified. Every caress, every sigh, every whispered promise beneath the birches has become part of the eternal tapestry, luminous, fragile, and sacred. In this, beauty is intertwined with cruelty, longing with inevitability, joy with sorrow, and passion with fate.
And so the myth persists. Every heartbeat that has known longing carries its echo. Every sigh that has trembled in anticipation of love carries its trace. Every lover who steps into shadow or light beneath a tree, who tastes the sweetness of intimacy, who senses the invisible thread guiding their union, all of these are touched by Laima. She is the unseen hand, the whisper on the skin, the shadow at the edge of every embrace. She is inevitability made intimate, destiny made sensual, longing made eternal. The story closes, yet it does not end. It lingers in the memory, pressing against the soul, leaving a tremor that is at once sweet and painful, erotic and sacred, fleeting and eternal. Desire is sharpened by denial, passion heightened by impermanence, union illuminated by the knowledge of loss. Each moment of love becomes incandescent precisely because it will not last. The story has ended, yet its fire glows in the threads of all who hear it, marking the heart with the secret weight of beauty, longing, and inevitability. Life itself becomes a reflection of Laima's weaving. Every kiss is fire, every embrace a thread, every tremor of longing a measure of eternity. Mortals move through the world aware that nothing is permanent, yet everything is precious. Each heartbeat, each sigh, each stolen glance resonates with the memory of those who have loved before, with the echo of passion beneath the birches, with the soft, invisible presence of a goddess who trembles quietly at the force of mortal desire. Love is fire, destiny is silk. Life is the trembling knot where the two entwine. Beauty is cruel, passion is merciful, longing is inevitable. And as the dawn spreads across the forests and rivers, brushing birches with pale gold, the listener understands. Nothing is free, yet everything is sacred. Every sigh, every caress, every heartbeat matters because it is touched by inevitability, illuminated by desire, and bound by threads that will outlast even the memory of life itself. The story ends. The lovers step into the day. The forest breathes. Laima remains, serene and untouchable, her loom quiet, yet resonant with the memory of what has been. And yet the echo persists, eternal, intimate, haunting, beautiful. The threads of longing, the fire of desire, the weight of fate, all remain, pressing gently upon the soul, leaving a mark that is sweet, cruel, and impossible to forget. This is Laima's gift, to remind us that love burns brightest against the inevitability of destiny, and that in its delicate, trembling threads, life itself becomes sacred.